going to grow your garden in an outside plot, there are a few key things to think about to pick the right spot for your garden. We'll explore container gardening in just a little while.
Now, in selecting a site that, as I said, is ideal for backyard garden, one of the main things that you need to ensure is that the area receives at least 6 hours of sun. Why? Because in backyard garden, most of what we plant is vegetables, right? And actually all crops need at least 6 hours of sun in order to produce well. We also need an area that it will not be disturbed by traffic. And when I say traffic, I mean people walking along, animals walking, and so forth. You don't want to select an area where people have to walk through your garden. You also need to select an area that you have easy access to water. Right? So instead of selecting a plot that you're going to have to walk with your bucket of water or your watering can to water the crops, you need somewhere that is close by to either a tap or a watering tank. Right? So those are some of the ideal things that you need to consider in selecting the perfect plot. Now this is another ideal spot for growing vegetables. Because what you realize is that here we're receiving the 6 hours of sun. We have easy access to water, but the difference here, this is not the outdoor aspect. Here we're doing it in containers, because if you even look at here at the June plum, if you realize it's an old bath, right? So it's just emphasizing stuff that you can grow your vegetables and so forth within potted containers. But we'll discuss more of that as we go along. Now, in selecting your plot, one thing you need to ensure is that all debris are removed, because you don't want, one thing that we have identified is that these debris will serve as a habitat for your pests, and that's one thing that you don't need on your site. So all of these debris is old sticks. You're going to remove them from the plot. Old sticks and stones, you remove them. Remove all of these. You don't need these in a plot, because as I said, these will serve especially with these woods. We have the species, insects like crickets and so forth, like these. So they hide in there in the day, they actually live in there, and afterwards, in the night when you go to your bed to sleep and so forth, they come out and enjoy your crop. So tomorrow you wake up crying. Also, other debris that such as glass, plastic bags, other plastic containers, please remove all of those, because it's not healthy. It's not ideal for your crop. So you want to select a site that is totally free of debris. All you need to have on the site is just a soil. In preparing the land, what you need to do is ensure that what we call plowing, we do some plowing of the area. Right? So you're going to use the fork itself to actually till the soil. So what you do, you're breaking up the particles. So you encourage aeration, and you're allowing the insects, the bad pests that is in the soil to be exposed, and eventually you'll disturb the habitat, right? So you need to ensure that you fork the land at least a foot deep. And I said again, depending on your soil type, whether clay or sand or silt, it depends on what we call the toughness of the soil. So you need to ensure you plow it. This is actually a clay loam. But you realize these thick lumps. And let me identify something here for you. You see here? That's an earthworm. And once this is present, it means that your soil is perfect for plant growth. It shows that there is some level of nutrient that is available. So when you see those, especially for the ladies, don't be scared. It's actually a good thing for you. Realize how dark looking the soil is. Very rich. But please, I encourage you, before planting or anything, do a soil test. Call Rural Physical Planning Division and get them come and take a soil sample. I give you an idea of exactly what you need. See again? Earthworms. It's not snake. So this is what you want. This is what you love. So you encourage these. You don't kill them. These actually break down the dry wood, the dry grass, the dry leaves. It breaks them down to form the organic matter that you need. So you just throw it back in the soil. Just ensure you have your gloves, so don't be scared. These are bugs. They can affect your seedlings. So you destroy the habitat for them. So you encourage them to run, right? Or if not, when we do the soil solarization here, it actually kills these. So that's what plowing also do. So you want to use this soil and bring it to an area where you build your raised beds, or you're going to plant in container. You need to sieve the soil. Why? Sieving helps to break up the particles, and it also helps to remove those large boulders, such as the large stones and so forth, from it. So you want to ensure that you get the soil as the particles as small as possible, but not too small. So in other words, you're creating a condition to look like if the soil is not loamy, you're creating that loamy condition. So let me just demonstrate now to you how you'd actually do your sieving. In sieving your soil, you need, what we have here is a hog wire. You can use a hog wire. If you have other things like your window screening and so forth, it's fine. It's ideal for sieving. But what you need to do, ensure that especially the hog wire is placed at a 45-degree angle. Right, you can use a stool like what I have here, stones, sticks, or just against the wall, just to serve as a brace while sieving. Now what you need to do, have your soil, right? So all you need is just a spadeful, and you throw one at a time. So what you realize is that the soil, most of the soil is passing through, but the bigger stones or gravel that you don't need in your pot, it's actually being guarded from going through. So you want to do that for all of your soil as much as you're going to need. So you see here, so what we have now is a separation of the bigger stones against the soil, which have a few gravels there, which is ideal for aeration, right? So this is what would be now suitable for you to put in your raised beds or your container. So this is your potting soil. After sieving, what you need to know is to add your manure and your gravel to the soil in order to have the soil in such a balance where you have good aeration and good water holding capacity. So the manure itself will aid in the water holding capacity and also adding organic matter to the soil, while the gravel will serve as to help in the aeration and the porosity of the soil. Now this is ideal, this is for potting. If you're not doing container gardening and you're going out more into an open area, what you'd use is actually 1 kilogram of a chicken manure to a 1 square meter area. Or if you're using cow manure or goat or horse manure, you use at least 4 kilograms of that manure to the square yard. Reason being that, remember, as we discussed before, the chicken manure is much stronger as it relates to the ammonia level, right? So it will actually burn the plant if you put too much. And remember, allow the manure to break down, or some persons will say mature, for at least 3 weeks before planting. What we're demonstrating there is for potting, when you're planting in containers and so forth. So for the open area, once you establish your 1 kilogram of chicken manure with your 1 square meter of yard space, what you need to do, evenly distribute the manure over it. And afterwards, your fire come back in handy. You just plow it inside it. So in other words, you're incorporating the manure within it. And in the meantime, you just use the same fork or your spade. Sometimes the spade is much easier to use to create the bedding because you want to allow free drainage of water on both sides. So with this bed now, remember, you allow the manure to break down for 3 weeks in this, right? So in the meantime of breaking down, what we can use is our garbage bag to help in solarization, controlling the weeds and the pests. As I explained earlier about the importance of the garbage bag in controlling your weed and other microorganisms, fungi and so forth that lives within the soil that would harm the crop. For a bigger area, all you have to do is just to split the bag and you get a bigger coverage. But for this, for demonstration purpose, you just use stones to anchor the 4 edges to prevent breeze from removing it. So you'd leave that there for about 3 to 4 weeks. And after removal, you see the difference. No weed will be growing, most harmful pests will be dead, and also fungi and so forth will be extinct. Always protect your area from traffic, from animals passing through, persons walking through and so forth. So what you need is basically 3 corner posts, right? So in this case, we're using a stick here which is about 4 feet high. You want it to be high enough to prevent stray goats or so forth from leaping over and going into your garden. So what you need to do is just to anchor. Next time you use a solid stone instead of a black. Alright, so that's one corner. And I must say that ensure that each corner is about 2 feet from the bed to allow you to walk inside it without stepping on the bed itself. All right. Now remember, this is just a garden for something small. We are using sticks that is found fairly around any backyard. Once you have trees and so forth, you'll find sticks there. Whatever material is available for fencing, here we have the hog wire for the fencing. If you have zinc and so forth, it can be used. But one thing you need to ensure is that the wire is properly anchored to your stick. So you're going to need staple and a hammer comes in handy. So this will actually hold the fence onto your sticks. And you need to ensure that you do this right around to prevent access. For you to have access to it, you can either build just a small gateway, or if you can step over it, fine. But it's ideal to build a gateway for you to just walk, have an entrance inside and out.
I have goats, fowl and dogs. So if I bar them out, I have to use what I have. So I find a bed spring, 1 or 2, zincs, wire, anything what I have can use. I get old pallet what the company that might discard and pull them up. So you know, you save instead of buy a length of lumber with a cost X amount, you just join up a couple pallet, which is feasible. and use, as you can see. The beds, you know, you get old zinc from old house might have pulled down, you just collect the zinc them. Any little thing on the yard where you can use as barring, you just can engineer it.
For more ideal protection of your garden, this is an example of what you need. If I stand here beside just the fencing, I am 6 feet 1 inch high, right? So this fencing is approximately 4 feet, 4.5 feet high, right? So this now, if you realize, here we're using a 2x2 post for anchorage and to hold the fence itself, right? Each post is at least 10 feet apart, right? And also ensure, especially here where we have the gate for the entrance of the garden, you ensure that on either side of the post you have another post that is at least a 45-degree angle. It actually prevents rocking or easy shaking of the post. It helps in the anchorage of it, right? And if you look, it is the garden is, the entire garden is fully protected. So from no angle will there be access to persons or animals, stray animals that you don't want to come in and eat off your crop. So this is the ideal fencing for a backyard garden. And as you look here, these are the raised beds. Now, what you realize, the beds are at least 1 foot high, right? And they are approximately 4 feet wide, and it can be at any length as possible. Why is it 4 feet wide? Because you need that easy access, especially for weeding and other fertilizing and so forth. You want to be able to stretch in the middle of a bed from either side. So if you go on that side, you're supposed to can touch the middle. If you stay on this side, you can touch it. Also the raised beds, why is it raised? Because it encourages the channeling of water. It prevents a clogging or too much water to be in the area where the plant will be. So you encourage guttering or channels for the water to run off easily. So you prevent water logging and so forth, which will eventually reduce your fungal effects, your fungal damages and so forth. It will reduce drastically.
Well, this is my backyard farm where I'm going to introduce you to my farm. People are very curious because they must in your yard. You plant up too much tree and things and like they want space, and so with those who are fear, I'm so curious. They will tamper with the food, and you know food is a sensitive thing. Right here, sir, is where I did come from, actually growing up, and circumstances I get caught up in gangster things, start to do certain things what my heart never really loved. So I come to a turning point, certain things happen, and I really want to choose because I got my youths them, you know. I really want a future for them, and things that I never really have or get, I really want to give them and build back, get a right peace of mind, go to school, facilitate myself with CSJP, learn a skill, and from there I start seeing myself more, rounding up more, and really want to find my true purpose and do something what I really love, not what I really want or somebody want me to do. I just want to do something I really love. It's like a tenement yard I'm in, not really my yard. So you do something, you love it. When you're gone, people take disadvantage. I mean, I love my flowers just as I love myself. And such a terrible warfare. And if someone in the yard don't really like you, you maybe respect them, because that's what life is all about. I'm a mango tree. I have to respect the guinea tree, and guinea have to respect the mango tree. So even with difference within the yard with people, I still respect them because of the sake of life. But do they respect you to the heights you respect them? Or we show the same respect for your food you're planting in the yard? They can do anything with it. If you throw some dirty water on it, certain thing, people down and there, they like it, they might spit on it. I'm curious about those things. So in everything you have to secure what you're doing. So I put more effort right here, so you know, as you can see, to lock it up at certain time. That means I have a peace of mind in a right environment. So things like those just need more support in what you're doing.